Okay. All right, this is gonna be a demonstration for working on your prelim or rough sketch. So you have an option of either doing like a rough sketch, like kind of like what I did with this one right here, was just like a full page, just rough drawing. Or if you want to do a little prelim sketch, that's fine too. If you want to just continue with your small thumbnail sketches, do like a slightly bigger, just bigger drawing. Kind of like what we did with the environmental awareness project from before. I'm okay with either or option. Yeah, prelim sketch. So if you want to just do like a slightly bigger drawing from one of your ideas, that's okay too. Okay. All right, but what you're gonna want to do with your drawing is go back to your thumbnail sketches that you've worked on. So you have at least up to at least 5 ideas that you can work with, and just choose one of the ideas to do basically your final project, final propaganda poster for. So I just went with the Teacher Unity creates power idea that I had here because I thought this was like the most creative idea, and I kind of wanted to draw like a comic book superhero type of a look with my poster. So okay, now this is like kind of what I came up with for my rough sketch. So instead of going over like me showing how I did the drawing, I'm just going to go over like my thought process. Okay, but I've done enough videos where like I've shown like the drawing. It's gonna be kind of redundant with what I do with this one here. But okay, but this is like what I came up with in terms of my rough sketch, my prelim sketch. Now, am I gonna make some changes or adjustments to my drawing as I go along? Maybe, maybe not, but it'll probably be like smaller adjustments. But first thing I would do though, even before you start working on the drawing, or starting to get like kind of like basically transferring your thumbnail sketch to like the rough sketch, is I would always look at pictures online. So these were the different pictures that I found online to help me with my drawing. So pretty much, I wanted to do like a picture of like Thor as like my main superhero. So really, real simple. Just do a Google search on like whatever you need or help you with your drawings. So originally I liked the idea of like Thor and the lightning and the hammer. So, but you can kind of see how like I kind of deviated from Thor instead of like having lightning in it. I did like holding a pencil. So I always associate teachers with pencil. And I feel like I need to do like a little bit more with the drawing to show this is like a teacher. So, um, I just did the simple cape superhero and make him look muscular. Um, so that was kind of what I did with mine. But you can see how I kind of use some of these images though to help me to create this movie poster. Like I really like this idea of like the several different hands. So I didn't really want to draw people, I just wanted to draw like hands. So I was gonna do like hands down here, and this is like common idea or theme for like fist and hands, fist in the air. That kind of represents like power and unity in a way if you have like a lot of hands. So I really like that concept and that idea in the drawing. And I was gonna make it more of like a kind of graphic comic book look. So I really like these thought bubbles. I just got this thought bubble from like this particular picture I was just looking at while I was working at it. But you can see like I'm kind of meshing and combining different ideas that inspired me in my artwork. You know, like this picture here. I really like this rock. So I wanted to do this rock with like a different pose. Instead of like a city, I was gonna do like fists in the air, and yeah, this is a picture of if you guys watching anime, My Hero Academia. I'm actually watching like the last season of the series. I'm a little behind, but All Might's like my favorite hero. So I kind of wanted to do like this kind of like dark, contrasty look for like the superhero. Make him look mysterious. So I was gonna do that with this. So, but I had to look up all these images. Just look up all these things specifically, like, I just typed in hero on top of the mound. I would just do searches on like things you specifically need or want, and download, save these images. It could be really helpful for like your drawings. So, even just collecting and saving images too. Here's a picture I found of like a teacher. It was kind of hard to find one with like a hand going up in like a fist, so I just kind of went with this picture here. So, like this pose that I got, it's like literally a combination of like all these, different pictures I found online. Like I used like this hand here. This was originally flipped the other way. So originally this was like the image here was in this direction. I needed him to face the other way though, but I just like the bulkiness of his body. Just thought was neat, and the contrast. So went with that. I wanted to put him in like a vest like this teacher here. So, I'm just really pulling all these different things, ideas in my drawings. I really like this pose of Thor. So kind of did his feet the same way, but I had to adjust it because he's not really bent over that much on the cape too. Okay, but this is how you kind of make the artwork original toward things that inspire you, things that you really like. And it's not me really just copying one drawing and then just putting it in there. I'm just using all these different ideas to make it my own. So obviously I'm not done with the drawing. I would draw a few more fists to finish that part. And probably for my final though, I'll probably make this smaller. I think I want to change like probably a few small things though. But overall, I like this idea. Wasn't really what I expected, but it's kind of like one of those things in art that you do drawings of things, and you never really know where the journey will take you. Like, if I were to really stick with this original idea though, like these other teachers that are on the mound, I didn't include them in there. I thought the one right here was real important because this is like the leader of the group, kind of a thing, the superhero. So it's more like the the main superhero because there's always like some leader or some main advocate for teachers that we all follow. This is like almost like in anything though. You don't you always have one leadership person, and something to lead to for Teachers United. So, but that's the beauty of art though, is you never really know where you go from your thumbnails to your rough sketch. Who knows, this idea might even completely change when I work on my final, but I'm gonna try to keep it like mostly the same. Usually when you're working with like clients or art directors, they really don't want you to deviate from your ideas too far. Now it's okay with me. If you want to change your ideas up, you can. That's fine. I will always promote more creativity in your work, or things aren't working, just change it up. But I'll probably keep things mostly the same in this drawing here though. But that's kind of how I went about with thumbnail sketches to the rough sketch. Really, it helps to look at pictures online, save the images. I think it's really helpful to save things. You guys always have more than enough storage. You can still save stuff in your Google Drive as well. Okay, and then use these images to help you with your drawings. All right.